When most of us picture a school, we imagine a highly controlled environment. We think about rows of desks, chalkboards, and standardized tests. This visualization shows the staggering deficit we are actually dealing with. Over 200 million children worldwide lack access to a safe classroom. Notice how quickly academic concerns fade out, replaced by a much more urgent need for basic physical shelter and clean water. In the most vulnerable corners of the globe, the primary barrier preventing an education is rarely a lack of curriculum. It is a complete absence of basic human infrastructure. For millions of children, a missing school creates a deadly vacuum. Without a secure perimeter, environmental and structural threats are allowed to thrive unchecked. The immediate threat is often the building itself. Many existing classrooms are so heavily degraded, literally rusting away and actively crumbling, that government officials mandate their demolition to prevent a collapse. In remote jungle regions, the hazard is entirely environmental. When heavy rains hit, thin tin roofs amplify the noise until teachers can't be heard, and the classrooms flood with knee-deep water, making any attempt to learn incredibly dangerous. Even reaching the classroom carries immense physical risk. Students are frequently forced to walk for over an hour in the dark, navigating high-traffic, chaotic corridors alongside speeding vehicles. Building a school in these environments operates as a rapid deployment of life-saving infrastructure. It is a literal rescue mission. The first intervention is entirely physical. You have to tear down the lethal rust bucket structures and replace them with heavily reinforced concrete two-story buildings. Upgrading the architectural integrity establishes a baseline of physical safety. It guarantees that a heavy storm won't cause the roof to cave in while children are sitting at their desks. That infrastructure extends beyond the classroom doors. Rotting wooden jungle bridges are ripped out and replaced with secure, elevated metal crossways. To solve the urban transit threat, you deploy dedicated school buses. This immediately pulls hundreds of vulnerable students off dark, highly congested roadways. Securing the physical perimeter and the commute is the mandatory first step. Physical harm must be completely neutralized before any lesson can be taught. Once the physical structure is sound, you have to target the invisible biological threats. The most devastating of these is contaminated drinking water. Entire communities rely on a single polluted river for all their hydration, leaving nearly 80% of the population infected with parasitic worms. The infrastructural antidote is immediate. Drill deep, solar-powered wells and construct sanitary bathrooms right on the school grounds. This instantly cuts off the waterborne disease cycle. The second biological pillar is neutralizing childhood starvation. To do this, you build fully equipped on-site commercial kitchens alongside the classrooms. This timeline illustrates the impact. The risk of childhood malnutrition trends sharply downward the moment that kitchen opens. By locking in a guaranteed daily meal for 5 consecutive years, the facility pumps a massive cumulative volume of nutrition into the community well into 2030. By combining clean water wells and high-volume kitchens, the school compound secures the biological survival of the entire surrounding population. When safe schools do not exist, a severe socioeconomic threat steps in to fill the void: illegal and hazardous child labor. Driven by extreme poverty and a lack of secure daytime facilities, young children are forced into grueling agricultural work just to help their families survive. A reinforced school building, paired with a reliable daily food source, acts as a fortified sanctuary against these exploitative industries. Providing a resource-rich, secure space successfully outcompetes the labor market. It rescues children from the fields by making the classroom the safest, most logical place to spend the day. This graph tracks the immediate statistical outcome of these life-saving interventions. When the meal and water programs activate, school attendance triggers a massive 10% spike that continues to climb. The psychological shift is just as dramatic. Because these children are no longer operating in a state of constant physical threat, their nervous systems can finally regulate. You start seeing children experience pure play, interacting with toys for the first time, or exploring specialized outdoor nature centers designed specifically to help neurodivergent students thrive. Intellectual growth is a luxury of the safe. A child can only begin to learn how the world works once they are no longer fighting it for their own survival. To ensure this safety is permanent, these structures utilize next-generation building materials. Heavy concrete is poured directly into the frames, solidifying into an unbreakable barrier meant to stand for generations. Systemic support is even built out for the educators, constructing on-site apartments so teachers are saved from brutal, hours-long daily commutes. When you build a school in the world's most vulnerable communities, an education is the second most important thing you provide. The first is the gift of life itself.